What's up, YouTube? I'm back at you with another video, and in today's video I'm going to give my prediction for the Alabama versus Texas matchup. I can't wait for this game, guys. This is going to be a huge matchup between two blue blood programs, and both teams look good in their last matchup. Um, I'm just read some stats, for both teams, and you can see what both teams are bringing to the table. Like I said, for Texas, I'm gonna start off with them. Of course, at quarterback, they got Quinn Ewers. Threw for 19. He went 19 for 30. He threw for 260 yards in his last matchup against Rice. Had 3 touchdowns. So did a pretty good job passing the ball. Kind of the chemistry wasn't there at first, passing the ball downfield, and heard a lot of people talk about, there might be a concern in this matchup. He kind of showed up last season, kind of not having that chemistry with both of the all of the wide receivers. But part of that could be due to vanilla play. They wasn't really trying to show Alabama anything. So I wouldn't put too much into that. Quinn Ewers, best believe Steve Sarkisian is going to have him ready in this matchup. Speaking of that, they got so many weapons at wide receiver. They got Xavier Worthy. He had 7 receptions for 90 yards. This dude right here is an NFL type wide receiver. Alabama's definitely going to have their hands full with this guy in the secondary. I mean, this guy can do it all. And Texas also got Adonai Mitchell from Georgia, the Georgia transfer. Another guy gave us problems, a couple of years ago. So they just talented all the way around that wide receiver room. And then this probably going to be the best wide receiver core that Alabama's going to face in the regular season. Just a talented room at wide receiver for Texas. And running back, they had Blue. I forgot his first name. I think it's Jaden. Yeah, Jaden Blue. He had 10 carries for 55 yards last game. He's not Bijan Robinson type, running back. They no longer have him at running back, but he was a key part of their offense last season. They no longer have him, but Jaden Blue is going to have to step up in this matchup for Texas to have a chance, against the Alabama Crimson Tide. And just adding him in the mixture with the wide receivers is going to be definitely a high-octane offense that the Alabama Crimson Tide defense is going to have to control. They're going to have their hands full. Switch to Alabama. Jalen Milroe got the start for Alabama. He went 13 for 18 for 194 yards, and he had 3 touchdowns passing. He also had 2 rushing touchdowns, and Quinn Ewers was able to get a rushing touchdown as well in his matchup against Rice. Gonna be an interesting matchup. Like I said, Jalen Milroe got the start, looked good in my opinion. Was able to pass the ball, something that he didn't really do last season, and he looked fluid with it. But it's gonna be a different beast with Texas. No offense to Middle Tennessee, but Texas is a whole realm of talented team for Alabama, and it's going to be interesting to see what Alabama dials up in this matchup against this Texas defense. Of course, at wide receiver, Isaiah Bunn had most reception yards. He had 5 receptions for 76 yards and a touchdown, so he's the leading receiver for them. Quick, fast guy, got insane speed, and plays with a lot of confidence, And both teams are just loaded, on both sides of the ball. Of course, Alabama got Jace McClellan at running back, also got Rodell Williams. And they also got Jam Miller. They got a lot of guys, but Jace McClellan probably, hint between him and Rodell Williams, that's your 1A and 1B at the running back position. And I'm going to just read off some total yards, team stats. They just had their first matchup, so Texas was able to have accumulate 458 yards. Passing yards, they got 300, and rushing yards, they got 158 on the ground. So, and yards allowed for Texas, they allowed 176 yards. Pass yards allowed, they allowed 149 through the air, and they only allowed 27 yards rushing on the ground. So, very, very good Texas defense. A lot of people don't talk about Texas defense. Texas has a really, really good defense, and they're really good at stopping the run. As I just told you, 27 yards rushing. I know it's in Middle Tennessee, but that's still good to be able to shut the run down like that. And they got some dudes on that D line. Um, we all know they got Bo Davis over there as their D line coach, and that's a guy that was at Alabama at one point. Uh, Great guy while he was at Alabama. Had ferocious defensive line play. Texas is going to have a really, really good, D line play, and I think in this matchup, Alabama's offensive line is going to have to go against that defensive front. But yeah, Texas did a pretty good job against Rice, holding them to that low output, both passing and rushing. Now Alabama total yards, Alabama got 431. Passing yards, they got 226. And rushing yards, they got 205. So Alabama has the better rushing yards, between, both games, between the two teams. So Alabama ran the ball a little bit better than Texas did, but they didn't pass as much as, Texas did in their matchup against Rice. Yards allowed, Alabama allowed 211 yards. Pass yards allowed, Alabama allowed 133 yards passing, and they only allowed 78 yards on the ground rushing. So it seems, as of right now, seems like Texas has a slight advantage in the run defense over Alabama, but Alabama has the better passing defense, which is, makes sense. Alabama secondary, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Terry Arnold, we're not too sure about Malachi Moore and Jalen Key, but if they can get those guys to play, Alabama's going to have, in my opinion, the better secondary. So, like I said, it's both things going to happen in this matchup. You're going to have to look at Texas defensive front versus Alabama's offensive line play. In my opinion, I think Alabama needs to do a little bit better, run the ball, get more physical up front, and they're going to need it because Texas is going to be bringing it on the defensive line. But I like Alabama's secondary going against, Texas wide receiver core. Texas got a very, very talented wide receiver core, but I feel confident with Alabama's secondary that they can match up with them pretty well. Now, for my prediction, like I said, Texas got to come to Alabama. This is going to be a huge game. This game is going to show where both teams are. It's going to be kind of a gauge, going forward. And it's going to be an interesting matchup. If I had to give a prediction, of course, I'm picking the Alabama Crimson Tide. I'm picking my team. I just think Alabama has a lot to prove. A lot of naysayers was out there, talking against Alabama, all off season. This is going to be their time to prove it, No doubt Texas is going to be a really, really good team. Steve Sarkisian is a master at, also offensive, play. Really, really good player. And he got some really good players, I'm sorry, but great at game planning, against defenses and stuff like that. But overall, I just think Alabama is going to be better. I think Alabama's defense, I think Kevin Steele is going to let the defense loose in this matchup. I watched the Rice game with Texas. Texas kind of struggled a little bit with Rice. When the defense kind of got to Quentin Ewers a little bit, he kind of struggled a little bit, It seems like he didn't want to get hit. You know, no quarterback wants to get hit, but it seems like if you put pressure on, this is cliche, but if you put a little pressure on Quentin Ewers, he seems not operate as, as fluent. And I think Kevin Steele is going to show some different things to Quentin Ewers that's going to kind of confuse him. And I just like Alabama's defense overall versus Texas defense. I think Texas is going to be really good up front. I'm not too sure about their back end. In my opinion, Alabama got the better back end, and the middle linebacker play has greatly improved from last season. And another thing I think Alabama has going for them, last season when they played against Texas, they committed a lot of penalties. I think it was like 15 penalties. Alabama played a really, really good game, against Middle Tennessee. I think they only had like 2 penalties. That played a major role last season, in my opinion, against Texas. But if they play sound football, don't commit penalties. And another thing Alabama has to do, I feel, for them to win this matchup, they have to run the ball effectively. If they can run in between the tackles and be able to get some positive yardage against this Texas defensive front, I can see a clear path for Alabama to win this game. Score prediction, I'm thinking somewhere between, I'm going to give you 2 score predictions. I can see it being 31-24, Bama, or I can see it being 31-17, Bama. I just think Alabama has, I wouldn't say the better wide receivers, but everything is known about Texas. We know they got Xavier Worthy and all that. I think Alabama may not have one particular guy, a wide receiver, that can step up, just be that one guy, but I think they have several guys that's decent. And I think that'll be enough against this Texas defense. But what do you guys think? Leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. Once again, if you haven't, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And I'll definitely be back with more college football content. Thanks, guys, and roll tide.